Okay, everybody, we're going to get started here. Good morning. This is the weekly weather briefing for Thursday, November 9th. Starting out as a kind of a wet one across the area. We do have, for the current conditions, you can see a cold front did slip south of the area, south of Georgia, really, yesterday and through the nighttime hours. But we still have this trough of low pressure, which is kind of situated across North Georgia, along with some upper level energy that's moving through, that's keeping conditions quite wet across the area. I'll show you the radar here in a second to see how some of this activity is starting to shift south and out of the North Georgia region, but at least for middle Georgia, it looks like it's going to be pretty wet for the rest of the day. And you can tell a difference in the temperatures out there. This is the 24-hour temperature change. Took these earlier this morning. And you can see anywhere generally between 15, getting close to 20 degrees for the temperature change from this time yesterday. So you also see some additional cool air up moving into the Tennessee Valley now. So that's some additional cold air that's going to be moving into our area for the weekend. So keep that in mind. So we've already had this first push of cold air, and it looks like it's
Colin, your friend is here.
Possible we're going to have additional cool air coming in. Here's that satellite imagery that's showing that upper level system. You can kind of see the swirl in the cloud pattern that's moving through North Alabama currently. That's what's kicking off all this residual rain activity that we have across the area, and even a few thunderstorms across middle Georgia that we've seen this morning. So as that continues to move east, we'll gradually see that backside, which is the drier air in the brown colors over Texas, entering into Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. That'll move our way, so we'll start to see some drier conditions eventually head this way. Here's that radar imagery. We've got the two radars, the one on the left here out of Atlanta, and then the one on the right further south. You can see the one on the right along I-16 there in Vidalia. We do have some enhanced activity. Again, we've had some thunderstorms earlier today, mainly just heavy showers right now, but still an opportunity as we move through the rest of the day that the activity coming from Columbus as it gets further south, maybe into that Wheeler-Toombs area later today, we could see some additional thunderstorm activity, so can't completely rule that out at the moment. Not looking for any strong or severe storms with those, just looking for generic thunderstorm activity. And then overall, you can see along I-20 and then east of Atlanta up through 85, drying conditions, still going to be overcast for the most part, maybe a little bit of drizzle, but the sustained moderate rainfall looks like it's going to shift south of the metro. So rain chances will be high. On the left image there, you can see we have 90 to, it's really going to be 100% chance for those central Georgia areas as this axis slides southward. But to the north, those rain chances will be coming down throughout the day, and then by tonight, everybody's pretty much dry, it looks like, in less than 20%. So if we can get through this afternoon, the first part of this evening, by the time we get to 7 o'clock tonight, most areas will be dry. What's happened in the last 24 hours, generally, it looks like we've had close to a ½ an inch in some places across the axis, across North Georgia there. Generally, a quarter to a ½ inch, though, mainly along the I-85 corridor there. So nothing too extreme by any means, nothing to cause any hydro concerns. And then the 48-hour precipitation forecast, same thing. And all that's going to be contained here in the next, largely in the next 6 hours there for central Georgia. Rainfall amounts a little bit higher, getting up there into the ½ inch or greater range. Some isolated locations that see a thunderstorm could see as high as an inch, I suppose, but not expecting any issues hydrology-wise with flooding or anything like that, so we should be good. Here's that 24-hour rainfall forecast, just drilling in a little bit closer here so you can see it. And again, we do have some values there, 3/4 to an inch. They're getting down toward Vidalia and Dublin. Again, that's going to be dependent on if we get thunderstorm activity. The activity that's out there right now, mainly moderate rain, will not be sufficient enough to get those totals, but if we can get an isolated thunderstorm in that activity, could get some heavier rain showers that will produce that inch rainfall. Looking at the minimum temperature Saturday morning behind the front. So as this next front moves through that we saw over the Tennessee Valley, and when we start to get a little bit of clearing through the area, that's going to allow temperatures to drop. So we are going to have cold temperatures rushing in for the area for tomorrow, and then Friday night into Saturday morning. So could be a little bit of a light freeze up in northeast Georgia for Saturday morning. So that's something you're going to watch out for across the area. Sunday morning, moving ahead in time, what's going to happen is that high pressure is going to shift offshore of New England and kind of build down over the Carolinas. This is pretty much a classic wedge type situation that you see over our area. A lot of times that'll be accompanied by some low overcast skies and maybe some light drizzle or rain, but initially this one's going to be dry. So it's just going to be dry and cold Saturday through the first part of Saturday evening. But you can see the warm front over Mississippi is going to move in toward our area, so that's going to bring some precipitation, or at least the threat of precipitation, to the area Sunday. So we're going to need to watch what happens with that. The system does not look nearly as strong as what we have currently, though, so rainfall values are going to be very limited right now. We're not even expecting a tenth of an inch with this activity. It's going to be more of that light rain that you would see with the wedge, and that's not going to start until Sunday. Again, initially it's going to be dry. The one thing we will need to watch, the cold air locked into the valleys. When we get these northeast flow events with the wedge, the cold air gets locked in those valleys and can't get out. So it'll be a timing issue as to when the precip arrives. Right now it looks like some of those areas are going to get above freezing before the precip arrives. But again, if the precip were to arrive a little bit sooner, we would have to watch for any potential freezing on some maybe the high overpasses over the area or elevated surfaces. Beyond that, let's look at a little bit further, 8 to 14 day outlook here. This is showing generally we're going to be below what we would normally expect as far as rainfall potential across the area. So it looks like it's going to be drying out. In addition to the temperatures on the right, it looks like they're going to be increasing as well. So this outlook is played out in our forecast. 7-day temperatures. This is not going quite out that far, but you can see the trend late in the period. Atlanta up in the upper left, Macon below that, Blairsville upper right, and then Columbus, all showing the same trend with Saturday and Sunday there being our coldest days with highs in the mid 50s to around 60 as you get down to Columbus. But then certainly a warming trend expecting next week. And from that previous 8 to 14 day outlook, looks like those trends will be continuing. So we can expect a warming trend well through next week. So here's just a summary of some of the expected impacts across the area. Isolated thunderstorms, southern tier for the next few hours. Really, I mean, that threat's going to be out of there in no time. Not really expecting any strong or severe with this activity. There is a light freeze possible early Saturday morning when we get that secondary cold front coming through. Cold air is going to rush in Friday, so Saturday morning looks like a light freeze possible. Portions of northeast Georgia. Still need to watch how quickly precip moves in as the cold air tries to hang on Saturday night and the Sunday morning. This is going to be primarily for those northeast zones again, especially some of those valleys where the cold air tries to hold in. Hopefully, cold air will erode before any drizzle can develop, but it's something we're going to be watching closely. And then increased temperatures and generally a dry pattern anticipated for next week. So